since you've done so many auditions yourself as a person, as a member, you've done the auditions yourself at a high level. And then on the other side of that, you've watched a lot of auditions. What is some advice for the people who are going out there to audition this season? What is some advice you would give them?
This was actually something that I thought was very important when I first became a caption head is like I wanted to have advice for auditioning in the packets that I wrote because I have seen so many different kinds of auditions. I've listened to auditions where I hear somebody play 5 notes and I go and my jaw's on the floor. Like
Yeah.
I've been in those before. I've also been in an audition where I hear you play your warm up note and I go, nope. Mm-mm. I have so many things, but I'll go through my list of things that I
Yeah, big hits.
pretty much buy into. Prepare,
Yeah.
prepare, prepare. If you don't prepare for your audition, why should I expect that you're going to prepare for the season? So, like, the worst kinds of auditions are when people come into the room and they go, I didn't have time to prepare.
It's 3 months
It's
before
the
November.
only times I've ever been mean in my life because
Yeah.
I hear like if I hear you say I didn't have time to prepare, the only answer I have back is I don't have time to listen to you.
Whew. Which is like, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have the experience. You're like, I've done it myself as a college student going through. I've been able to prepare for this. You know, like if you're trying to come into a high level group and perform at a high level,
Yep.
how are you going to show up not prepared?
Exactly. So prepare. Like that's number one. Every single audition room you go in, no matter what drum corps it is, the person who is sitting there listening to you audition wants nothing more than for you to play the best that you possibly can. There's never going to be a person in an audition room that is seeking to watch you crash and burn. Trust me, we see that a lot, and every time we do, it's painful. So, we want to see you be the best version of you that you can possibly be. So don't get so stressed out and nervous about I have to be at the standard of X in this audition. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You need to show us who you are in that audition.
Absolutely.
And if that who you are and like where your current skill level is ready to be in the drum corps, then great, then we'll take you. And if it's not ready yet, we might give you a call back and say, work on these things, right? We want to see the best version of you. We don't want to see you trying to be the best player in the horn line. Because if that's not you, then you're trying to be something that you've never been.
Yes.
And we are looking for people who are going to be genuine and authentic.
Themselves.
Yeah, be yourself. Exactly. Oh, these are all very little things. If you ask to play a couple notes before you play, make good sounds on those couple notes. Because if you think that we're not judging you based off of those sounds that you're making, you're
doing your audition.
Yeah, you're wrong.
You just warmed up out there. You're coming in. This is it.
I can't. I've had several times in my career of like being in an audition room where a kid will come in and say, "Can I play a couple notes before we start?" And I go, "Absolutely, yeah, go for it." And then they go make fart sounds out of their instrument, and
Why'd we just do that?
Oh God, okay. And then they start to play their etude, and it's like, "Oh, this gets pretty good." And then the first thing I say to them is not, "Here's what I'd love to hear you work on." It's, "Why did you make those fart sounds when you were doing the notes on your own?"
Yeah.
Like, I was listening to that, right? Like, you gotta sound great all the time. So, like, that's the thing. If you're gonna play a couple notes on your own, make great sounds when you do that. Because they're still listening. You're in the same room as them. They're gonna judge you off of those sounds that you make, whether you want them to or not. Yeah. Oh, talk to vets. You will learn very quickly whether this is a place that you fit in well at by talking to vets.
That's a big thing I would always say to everybody is something I learned at a very young age was like throwing myself in the deep end and just like 14, 15 flying on my own for the first time, going to a camp alone, knowing nobody. You have to talk to somebody. So, when you meet your section leaders and you start seeing them hang out with the other vets and you start, you got to throw yourself in the deep end. You got to start talking to people. That's the only way that you're ever going to feel comfortable at the place you're at. And also I've been at some places where, I go audition in a new place. And the first thing is just like, I want to meet the vets here. And as soon as I figure out that culture, I'm like, okay, like not digging that, or I am, and I got to do this thing. So that's my big thing is there's going to be nerves no matter what. I had them all the time. Even in the 4th year going to BK, like even though I prepared more than I ever had before, there's still going to be nerves there. It's like, I know Dylan's going to be here and I know a couple like OC people are going to be here and that's all good. But like, I can't just cling to them the whole time. Like I got to be me too. So I got to go do my own thing and I got to meet these people and know who they are.
Yeah, you will know very quickly from talking to the vets if this is a place you want to be. By the way, you're very rarely going to talk to vets and go, oh, like that guy sucks.
That sucks.
It's just like those people just aren't in the activity.
Very rare. Very rare.
That's just not really a thing. And then the last thing, and this is such an important thing, be teachable. Every drum corps, every high school band, every college plays their instruments a little bit differently. And if you think that the way you're currently doing things is the only way to do things, you're going to have a terrible time in drum corps. You have to be willing to hear new information and try it. What you might find out is that this new way of doing things unlocks something in you that you've never really noticed before.
Yeah.
I had a terrible embouchure when I was in high school. My embouchure was just so bad. Nobody told me that, and I just didn't really take a lot of time to worry about it.
This must be the right way.
Exactly. But then I got to the Blue Stars and playing my horn really well and doing a lot of things really well. And one of our baritone techs came up to me and, we're working on lip slurs. My embouchure was bad, so I couldn't play lip slurs. He said, we're going to do an embouchure change. This is during the drum corps season, right?
Yeah.
I am thinking of this for me as a teacher, and like I have a very strict rule. Embouchure changes in a drum corps season are a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yes.
You're going to do it before the season because you're thinking about plenty of things. You don't need to like have every thought into what is
You're trying to learn a show.
What is this part of my face doing while I'm playing?
Yeah.
It's not worth it. But anyway, this happened and I was like, let's do it. And then a week later, I'm not even thinking about it anymore because it's just, I had thought about it so much for a week and I'm good. And things are working. Yeah. And all of a sudden I came back to school and I was a way better player than I was before. And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't willing to accept this new information that I had never heard before. Be teachable. Be teachable.
Absolutely.
I'm sure I have plenty of other things, but like
that was like the top 5 right there.
Those are the main things I would say. If we were going to list them off again, it would be, you're going to need to help me out with this. Be prepared.
Be prepared. We also had, let's just throw in be teachable because we can just in no order. We also had talk to vets. We also had, when you go into the audition room, if you're going to play a couple notes, make some good sounds in there.
I'll just say every sound you make in the audition room is judged, whether you want it to be or not.
Yes. Yeah. And then 5, there was a 5 in there. There was definitely a 5 in there. How did I forget this? Maybe that's top 4.
Maybe it's a top 4. Be you in the audition. Be you. Be authentic.
Yeah. Probably the biggest one, if anything, is just be yourself.
Yes, that is the most important one, is be yourself in the audition room. Because we're not just auditioning you, the player, we're also auditioning you, the person, right?
Yeah, that's a big thing throughout the weekend is that like you think that when you go to meal breaks that the staff is just, oh yeah, we're going to go to dinner, we're going to go to lunch or whatever. And it's like, when they walk through the cafeteria and they start looking at everybody like interacting with it, that's also kind of like now don't overthink it and be like, we're getting judged every single moment. Still be yourself, but realize that people are, you know what I'm saying? Like
there's a kid over there who's sitting all by himself and I'm just like, that's not going to work. And it's like, if that kid literally just went over to this other table and just like hung out with some other people, like
just jump in.
Good vibe. This kid's a good vibe. He's just hanging out. And he could be a good vibe either ways. He might just be having a bad 2 hours, but it's an audition.
Still just hop in. Just hop in.